welcome to GRO Informed. Hi, I'm Rob Penn. I'm the author and developer of the GRO system for leadership, human resources, and business development. I want to talk to you today about a subject that's very near and dear to my heart, and that's servant leadership. We call this video Servant Leadership 101. It's the basics. If you already are practicing servant leadership, then we want to build on those skills and give you some more features and benefits, talk about it a little more in depth, and help you grow those skills. Now, if you don't know about servant leadership or you're new to the process, we want to kind of give you that overview. So you know the features and benefits, and you can answer that what's in it for me question. What's in it for my team? What's in it for my business? If you're part of the challenge already, welcome back. If you haven't started the Take the Servant Leadership Challenge process, you can find out a little bit more by going to the bottom of this page to the Help Center and sending us a message. We'll show you how you can get a copy of the Servant Leadership Challenge article. That'll give you access to the toolkit through the PDF on this page and a little more information on where we've come from so far in the challenge. I want to talk to HR for a minute, especially human resources development. Employee engagement is so critical these days, you know that, and most leaders do too, really. And you have in practice a lot of really good things to get that engagement going. Total rewards, wellness programs, and traditional team building, they'll all get that engagement started. That's the three-legged stool that's in place in most of your companies. I suggest to you that there's a fourth leg to that stool, and that's servant leadership. And in this video, we'll give you an idea of how that servant leadership mindset and intentional servant leadership in the workplace kind of wraps around all those other three elements and really boosts and increases the effectiveness of your current employee engagement processes. Now, you know why that's important. Not only do you get a better relationship with your team and a higher performing team, but it helps with employee retention. It helps build a team when it comes time to bring in new talent. You can onboard them more easily when they see your team and how much they enjoy their job and how well they work together. That's a place they will want to be. Okay, we're going to explore the basics, the features and benefits a little more. Stick around, that's coming next. If you've watched any of my other videos on servant leadership, you've probably heard me say something that I think is important. It's a favorite quote. We earn a living by what we get. We build a life by what we give. Now, that's important. And I'm not talking about the giving of material things or money or whatever else we might consider something to give. What I'm really talking about is the most precious thing that we possess, and that's our time. So as we go through servant leadership, we're going to learn that that's a big benefit, the saving of time on the job. That's a huge benefit of servant leadership. And we're going to show you how that's done. We're going to give you a few examples. Now, you've also heard me say this. You know, leaders, nobody cares about how much you know until they know how much you care. So there we have it. We have two important concepts that are the core of servant leadership, really. We have the giving of our time, the showing that we care, and that's important. I think that's critical. Giving our time, showing our team that we care. That's what builds that cohesiveness. That's what starts the engagement and makes all of the other things that servant leadership provides more effective, if you will, in the workplace. Now, an example, and this is an example on how servant leadership will ultimately not only correct issues in the workplace, but head off fires from coming to your desk and ultimately save you time, make your team more productive, and lift the business, which is the goal. So, you've probably had this happen to you before. If you're in HR, you've witnessed it before, you've heard about it before. But let's say you have your team on task. And now it could be in manufacturing, it could be in really any part of your business. Human resources, comp and benefits. There are deadlines there. There are things that are important to stay on task. But they can be easily derailed when a leader from another department comes into your team, addresses them, going behind your back, addresses them directly and says something like, okay, my team is swamped. I know you guys are working on a similar project. Can you just take this and kind of help us out a little bit? We know you can do this. Okay. That's happened. Now, you're monitoring what's going on, and all of a sudden you see production numbers dropping, or you're not getting the reports that you need on time. And you wonder what's going on. So if you're not a servant leader, you'll probably charge down there and go, hey, what's going on? I need to fix this. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. Well, that's not the approach of a servant leader. And that's not an effective approach to correct the issue. What I would like you to think about is going out into the workforce, out on the floor, and just don't jump in there. Look and listen. It's kind of funny that the words listen and silent have the same letters. Coincidence? Yeah, probably. But instead of charging down there, I want you to go down there and look and listen. First, gather some information. See what's going on. You'll probably notice that they're doing things that you didn't task them with. So that's the time you speak. You go in, you start talking to your team, and you'll hear the story about why they're working on something else and not what you've assigned for them to do. So the easiest solution to this, and it's really simple, just tell them, look, next time somebody does that, just tell them to come to me. Now, you really don't need to know the reasons, but as you move into this, you might want to find out. You might find out that they are the product of bad leadership in their past, where if they don't do what another leader tells them, or their own leader, they get chewed out. Something bad happens to them. So they're afraid that's going to happen to them. And they don't think about challenging that by coming to you. But just tell them that. Next time they come in, tell them to come and see me. Well, what happens? They tell that to this person, and the next time they have this desire to push off a workload on somebody else, they're going to think twice. They know they messed up the first time. They're not going to do it again. So let's say this happens, another leader comes in, does the same thing. Your team knows you've got their back now. They know you care about keeping their workload to a minimum. So they want to confront this individual knowing that you're there to protect them. So they'll just tell them, go see my boss. Problem solved, they're not going to do it. And if they do, you can correct them and tell them not to let it happen again. So what has that done? They'll do this. Next time something like that happens, they will say, go see my boss. You'll never know that it happened because the other person will just walk away from it. What is the result of that? A fire didn't come on your desk. It was smoldering. Your team put it out for you. What happens then? It saves you time. Time for you to focus on your own work, to pursue your own career goals, the company's goals that they've set for you. It's a huge time saver. By one simple act of caring, getting out there, handling your people the way you would want to be treated, having them empowered to take a little initiative on their own, saves you time, puts out the fires. Now, you can think of many examples like that, where a outside service provider comes in and they're a jerk. So they're pushing your team to help them load the truck. You know, on and on and on it goes. People coming in, trying to get something from your team that they should not be giving. You're going to find out about those things, and in a lot of instances, Once you give them the training, the understanding, you've got their back, then those problems will just stop happening. Okay, let's talk about this example. What it is, it's a leader knowing that it's not the how-to, it's the how-we. That's what you've just done. You've made it about a we, a team, an us, and you've solved problems, saved time as a result. Okay, some things are important about keeping it real, and let's get to that next. Okay, let's keep it real. When you're leading by example, like the previous example that I gave you, you're out there showing them, you're in the job with them, you're working alongside them, you care about them. You're going to have situations, though, that people are people. Now, you've brought on team members that are qualified. You know on paper they're good at their job, they're going to be good at what you task them to perform. But people being people, they are going to have their days, okay? And it may be more than just one day. It may be a constant throughout their career. And we talked earlier about people that come from bad leadership experiences. You're really inheriting wreckage from a previous leader that doesn't work like you do, okay, and doesn't believe the things that you believe. It really doesn't care about these people, so that's what they expect in any job. Or they've just had a bad day or a bad week. Something has happened in their life that is really a distraction that is so important it takes them away from what you want them to do. So when you're in there engaging with your team routinely, maybe even daily, you're going to hear what's going on. As you get to know your people, you see somebody that's really, obviously down and depressed. You might have a trusted employee in there. You can just say, what's going on with them? Or you can go to them directly. Is there anything I can do? Are you having a struggle? Did I not give you clear instructions? What can I do to get you in a position where you're really enjoying your work more and you're happy when you go home at night? I see you leave at night and it just doesn't look like you're happy. What can I do? Okay, you may learn about that individual that they've had one of these fires crop up someplace else in their life. Or they just could be someone that has an attitude, they just don't really care. Person one, you can fix. You can help them fix themselves. Person two, you can work with them, keep things going, maybe bring in a specialist from HRD, maybe get them some more training, keep this caring attitude, this engaged attitude. But there may come a point when it's just inevitable. The handwriting's on the wall. You have to cut them loose. But then it's expensive. That's why you want to try. You have to go through the time to do the job search. You have to bring them in to meet with your team. Hopefully your team's in a better position and there's more general job satisfaction, and these new people will be willing and eager to come in and join the workforce. But it still takes time. That's a time robber. That's what servant leadership and what we're trying to correct. So you want to avoid that at all costs. But sometimes it has to happen. Okay, leaders, you go out there and you give the instructions, you give the assignments, you give them the training, but it's not really about the how-to. It's about the how-we, this collegial interaction, getting to know your people, them seeing the human side of you, the knowing that you care. That is so critical. That gets back to our original two founding principles, the giving of your time and the caring attitude. So that's the keep it's real. Okay, next I want to talk to you about the detractors to servant leadership, the people that just don't understand the features, the benefits, the what's in it for me. So let's talk about that. There are people out there that I really believe they don't understand servant leadership, or they wouldn't say things like this. Um, One of the first criticisms of servant leadership, so-called criticism, is it takes too much time. Well, sure, anything that's worthwhile takes time to learn. But I think you've seen in the example that the investment of that time in the long run saves you time. They also say things like, it takes you off of mission. Okay, let's go back to the example again. When somebody comes in, inside or outside the organization, or things happen outside to the individuals, that takes them off mission, right? Okay, so in the example, we've shown how this engagement with your team really keeps them on mission. That's another time savings. Okay, a third thing I hear a lot is servant leadership just isn't for everybody. Well, you're learning, if you practice servant leadership, you're learning that, yeah, it may be different, and it may require me to examine myself and really think about my leadership style and think about my team. But, you know, that's important. And I think you'll come to the conclusion that I have, that it is for you. I mean, caring about people, working alongside your team, getting better performance, improving your own job satisfaction and theirs, as well as lifting the company. I mean, what's wrong with that? They give an example or two that goes something like this. Okay, let's say you're in a high pressure, goal driven, quota driven type of job setting where you have a ton of issues with employee retention. You know, it may be in other areas. We mentioned comp and benefits. You know, you've got those crunch times every year when, you know, the spreadsheets come out and all the information has to be downloaded. It has to be changed from previous years or previous quarters. You know, there are serious deadlines there, and they can have serious consequences if those things aren't met. But as we've talked about engaging with them, you can find out what's going on that's derailing some of those things or making it harder for them to do their jobs. Maybe it means in a order fulfillment center, you actually get out there and you sort some clothes, you sort some parts, you put them in the bins, you move them through, you know, you get on the loading dock, all of those things. If it means getting out there and looking at spreadsheets and sitting down, you know, at the desk with your employee and asking if you can help them, you want to make things smoother, not faster, just meet the goals, but you want to make sure that you're keeping up with things for them because you care about them. You know, what's that going to do? Well, it's leadership by example, really. You show your team that you're invested just like they are, that you're not afraid of the work that they do, that you're not above them, so to speak, even though in the hierarchy of leadership, in the command structure, you are, and they need to respect that, and they need to follow your instructions, but just giving them instructions and barking orders and leadership by demanding, you know, that's not effective leadership, really. You want to be engaged with your team, and the best way to be engaged with your team is leading by example, working alongside them, and then seeing how things improve, your numbers, all the things that they have to do to produce. You'll see those numbers increase, I believe strongly. I've seen it happen, so I want you to try that and consider that. Now, what happens then? They know you care. One of the main reasons for high turnover in these kind of positions is, you know, the boss just doesn't care about me. You know, I'm just out here pounding it, and they could care less as long as they get the numbers on their spreadsheet that they want to see. That's why they leave. They're tired of it. They get sick of it. They stick it out for a while. But I've got a good friend, and they're in human resources, comp and benefits, and they've gone through this. Leaders that don't care, or at least act like they don't care. This person told me all they have to do is just come out occasionally and say, you're doing a good job. We like what you're doing. We like your work. Keep it up. Love it. If you need anything, just tell me. That's all they had to say. This individual, over not too many years, changed jobs several times. We've talked about that too, how costly that is, especially if you're right in the middle of crunch time. Something's going on where you have to have the job done. You just have to. Now you have to stop and find somebody else and go to all those expenses of time and money. It's costly. So just going out there and saying, hey, you're doing a good job. Could be nothing more than that. As simple as that. So we want you to consider that. So those are what the detractors say. And I think you can see that just the investment of your time keeps your team on mission and corrects this attitude that it's not for me, because you see tangible results. Better retention, better onboarding of new talent, better numbers, all of these things we've talked about. You're going to see that happen. Okay, now let's talk about the importance of awareness. You've got problems coming your way, fires coming your way every single day, sometimes many times a day. And you sit there and you wonder, where's this coming from? Why am I suddenly being bombarded with all this garbage coming into my office? You just don't know what's going on, and you charge around kind of, blindly looking. You think you know where the problem is, and you go after that and try to get involved, but you really don't have a handle on the how to. So there's more to this than just knowing there's a problem. You have to have this, I call it situational awareness. It's the looking around. It's keeping the head on a swivel, keeping your ears and eyes open. You can become aware of potential problems like this, using this technique, listening, keeping your own needs and wants and goals, keeping them silent a little bit, and do that listening. And you'll become in tune with the culture in your company, with the culture of your team. And they're different from team to team to team. They have a different culture. Then there's an overall company culture that sort of incorporates all of these different groups from different levels inside the company. The C-suite on down, they all have a different culture. So this awareness, this keeping your head on a swivel, this listening and looking at numbers and comparing them to what you see. Why did I have this jump in production? And go out there and find out. Look and watch. You may find your team's the reason that they're working more together, since you're more engaged with them. They know you've got your back, so they're more willing to work together, and that creates an improvement. So you can sit back and go, hey, this servant leadership is cool. It's working. It's doing great things. And you'll learn how to improve on it, and you'll want to improve on it, because you get that net end result coming back to you, more time, more job satisfaction for you, your team, and your business grows. Okay, there's something else I want to talk to you about, and that's mentorship. Let's do that next. We've all had mentors, the important people in our lives that have worked by example around us, that have shown us the qualities of good leadership, of being a good employee. They've helped build our business skills alongside our personal skills. Really, there are mentors in our past that have made us better human beings. And I think you recognize what I'm talking about. But let's talk about you as a leader, you as a mentor. The fact is, you're really mentoring the people you lead. You're building the future leaders within your organization, or leaders that are going to take the things you teach them to another company, another organization down the road as they move into leadership, and you want them to be the best they can be. We know you care, and that's important to you, but what's in it for you, for your company, if you mentor them properly? We've had good leaders. We've had terrible mentors in our past. Everybody experiences it, some more than others. We emulate their skills, this leadership by command kind of skill in some cases. Whatever it is, they've shown you skills that you don't want, that are bad skills. And you've rooted those out. You've done the self-examination. You've made those changes. and you've improved yourself as a leader. And weeded those out, they're gone. So you're out there leading by example, mentoring these people. You know, they're getting promoted. Their job satisfaction is increasing. Their own goal setting for careers is increasing and becoming satisfied as they are promoted up the food chain. So soon, these people on your team are going to be your peers. They're going to be working alongside of you. You're going to want them to have the same drive, the passion, the dedication to the work that you do. So, mentoring and leadership is about building new leaders. There's a payback, and I think you can see what I'm talking about. Now, I'm going to give you some homework. I want you to get a pen and paper. This is a short homework assignment. It'll take you about a half hour, but I think it's important to growing your leadership skills. In your homework assignment, I'm going to give you 3 things, and I think it's important to see other servant leaders and how they feel about the role of servant leadership, and in a way, it will kind of mentor you. You'll learn things in this little assignment I think you may not have considered before, and if not, if it's something you already are practicing, then it'll just reinforce that because you know other people are doing what you're doing. So first, I want you to take a look at the United States Coast Guard motto. You know, down here in coastal Florida, we see the white helicopters with the red stripes or the boats with the red stripes, and we know we've got a guardian angel out there protecting us. That's kind of your role as a leader. You're there to guard things, keep them away, the bad things from your team. So they might see you the same way. And if you look through the motto of the Coasties, you'll see every point by point by point, is about service and leadership. I know a lot of the things you read there are things that you already incorporate into your own life, into the workplace, into your leadership. But I'll pretty much guarantee you'll see some things that you haven't thought about before and that you'll want to incorporate into your own leadership style. Second thing, former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice did a video I like. It's from the Hearst 1 Minute Mentor. So Google that. Hearst 1 Minute Mentor, Condoleezza Rice on leadership. It's 1 minute, as the title says. So spend 60 seconds, listen to what she has to say, and guess what? She talks about leadership as mentoring. And I think that'll reinforce some of the things I've been talking about, and I think the way she presents it, you'll see some things that will pop back in your mind from time to time when you run into a tough situation with somebody that's a little stubborn about moving forward and accelerating their performance and advancing within your company. Third thing, if you're familiar with NFL football, or even if you're not, you may have heard the name Derek Brooks. He's into a lot of things these days beyond football, but he is a servant leader. And I know he considers himself as such because of the things he does, the way he leads outside in the community now, and how he performed when he was in football. So Google Derek Brooks Hall of Fame induction speech. It's 20-some minutes, and you'll notice in his speech, the first 90% is him talking about the people that got him there, his mentors, the leaders around him that pushed him and elevated him. It's not till the last few minutes, the last 10%, that he talks about himself. And, you know, you'll see acceptance speeches like this in other settings, even in football. You know, like I want to thank the Academy. It's almost a memorized boilerplate, must do, you know, not something they want to do. They superficially thank people, and it's about the first 10%. And when you see that, giving thanks to other people is that short, you'll know likely it's fake. It's not real. Brooks, 90%. He's talking about everybody from his coaches to, youth mentors that he had, even his teammates that showed these leadership qualities and moved up into leadership positions alongside him. That last 10% where he talks about himself, he's talking about himself and other people as a team. And how they still helped him get where he was. He's talking about himself and thanking people, thanking the fans for elevating him to the Hall of Fame. And he has pride. You can tell from the speech. You'll see that. Pride's not a bad thing in your accomplishments. So watch that. Do these 3 little tasks, half hour or so, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. Okay. Let's move forward and wrap this thing up so you can get into the challenge. I want to take a couple minutes. If you're in the challenge already, this is kind of a reminder. If you haven't taken the challenge yet and read the article, you'll find when we send you the article, there'll be a passcode for you to get into the toolkit PDF on this page. You'll print out things like a survey that you're going to use, an anonymous survey among your team, your peers. You'll take it yourself. You might find out when you take the survey, you're going to see some things in there that you really think you're hitting it hard. You're doing a good job. You're really kicking it in this area. Now you get your survey back from your team, from your peers that work around you every day that see you in action. And the way they feel is maybe not so much. And you'll find out that this is a weakness you need to work on. Not a bad thing. Don't panic. That's what we're here to correct. And that's what you'll correct working through the Servant Leadership Challenge Toolkit. You're going to find these things inevitably. It's a most weak area when it comes to your leadership skills, and in particular how you engage, your engagement skills as a leader. Next thing that's going to come out is a workbook. The workbook will actually build on what we're talking about today in this video and in the article, give you more ideas about servant leadership features and benefits and the how-tos. This is the nuts and bolts part. It'll walk you through how to better utilize the challenge and the forms. The last form that you're going to print out, part of the workbook is your action plan. It'll show you how to work through the action plan, take those areas that are most weak in your engagement, leadership skills, and capitalize on this opportunity to invest some time, do the self-examination, and improve this. And over about a 90-day period, less, hopefully, well, you'll start to see this progression of that leadership skill being more effective and it being better received and appreciated by your team. And the next time you repeat the survey, down the road, at 90 days, every 90 days, we're going to take a look at that, and you're in control. This is all self-directed, so you don't have to follow this scripted exactly 90 days, but you want to fit it into your schedule because you'll learn in this first 90 days what you've done through the self-examination is you've identified things that you need to address as a leader. This will help you improve not only your job satisfaction and your job performance, but the team will benefit, and so will the business. You're going to learn a lot of things in this process, and servant leadership is really something that should become a way of life. When you leave the workplace at the end of the day, you're going to be happier. You'll be less stressed, so you're going to take home the happy face, the happy attitude, so that's going to help you be more engaged with your family and your friends and your community. And that's what servant leadership is really all about. It's doing things, leading in a way, becoming the person that will lift all boats, so to speak. You're lifting up your team. You're lifting up your family. You're lifting up your friends. This whole, the job performance, the leadership, your team, they will be lifted in terms of their job satisfaction, their performance. Performance on their end and on your end translates to a lifting of the business. The organization's goal setting and mission is going to be accomplished better and then added to and built upon. You're building stronger people. You're building leaders. And you're growing and developing yourself as a leader as you move up through the ranks to meet your own goal setting and your own career mission. Same thing happens at home. The same thing happens with your friends and your community. So it's very important. I think that it becomes thought of as a way of life. Okay, one more thing. If you've heard me speak before, you've watched a video, or if you've read the things I've written, especially about servant leadership, but it applies really across the board to business growth and development and human resources development. It's iron sharpens iron. Now, you may have heard of iron sharpens iron. It may be important to you personally. Let me tell you what it means to me in terms of leadership. You are that stable, solid, razor sharp piece of iron, if you will, coming in to direct the mission within your team and within the business. Now, you've probably got members of your team that have that same devotion and dedication, the same drive that you have, that they are developing, if they don't already have it, that razor sharp edge of their own. Now, you know who those people are. You see them in a meeting, and they're the first people with their hands in the air with a new idea. Some of them good, some of them not so good, but the point is they're contributing. Now you've got this other group of people, and you know who they are too. They come into the same meeting, their heads down on their tablet, they're making notes. They could care less. They just want to get out of there, finish the day and get home. Now, that doesn't make them bad people. If they weren't solid potential contributors, they wouldn't be on your team in the first place. But they're just not quite honed the way you and your other team members are. So pretty soon they're going to see this team having their own job satisfaction and happy factor, that I call it, increased in the workplace. They're going to look at that. They're going to see them being looked at for promotions. They're going to see some of them move out in promotions. They're going to want to, they're curious. They want to be part of that. They want to get that. So they start interacting more with you, with your team. That interaction, that exposure to their high performance, to your high performance, that interaction is going to hone them into a better performing team member and better contributor. That's iron sharpens iron. So consider all the things we've talked about. I hope we've planted some good seeds, and I hope we can help you grow your leadership skills. As I mentioned at the bottom of this page is a help center. There's a lot of room there. You can send us a message. It'll come directly to me or one of my team members, and we'll get back to you. Write any of your concerns down, any of your questions. We'll get back to you and keep you on track and keep things in motion and help you become the best leader you can be, the best servant leader. Okay, let's get to work. It's going to be fun. I know you're going to enjoy it. There are a lot of rewards to come. Let's do this. It's going to be one of the most engaging, rewarding experiences you'll ever have. And remember, stay sharp, my friends.